Before going into the topic details, I want to bring your attention to the UPSC coaching programs offered by ClearIAS. ClearIAS offers online and offline courses to help candidates get selected for prestigious government services like IAS, IPS, or IFS. ClearIAS Prelims Cum Mains (PCM) course provides a highly effective study plan, well-organized subject-wise videos, study materials, mock exams, and guidance to cover the entire GS syllabus of UPSC CSE prelims, mains, and interview systematically. As a limited-period offer, there is a 40% discount on our online courses. Enroll now.
How can we know that the country is improving their production or not? There should be some kind of measurement for that. So that comes under your national income accounting. You have studied national income accounting, right? Shimil sir has already taken that. So measurement of production, as he has also already taken, I am not going to the depth of this particular topic. Just want to make to the intention of this class to help you connect different aspects. I mean, we'll be studying different things individually, but we should see the whole picture. The big picture you have to see. So that is my intention in this class, to help you understand the big picture. So we have to measure production. That comes under national income accounting. So what are the parameters that can be used to measure production? We use terms like GDP, GNP, NDP, NNP, GVA. Have you heard this? So we know that. So suppose there is a kid. So when he consumes something, he will be growing, right? He will be growing. So how will his growth be measured? How will you measure the growth of a kid? Yeah, we can measure in different way. Maybe we will be measuring his skill sets, like what Ashley said. Maybe here we can measure his speaking skills, reading skills, or writing skills. As he develops each of these skills, with respect to each age, we can measure the skill set. Are there any other simple way of measuring the growth of a kid? Is this the first thing a doctor will measure?
Height and weight.
Exactly, height and weight. So if a kid is taken to a pediatrician, he will be measuring the weight of the kid, he will be measuring the height of the kid, right? So same way, that is one way of measuring growth, right? So for a country, we also have to measure the growth of the country, like whether the country is producing more items or not. So for that, we have to measure it. We have to measure production. For that, we need some parameters. So that is GDP, GNP, NDP, NNP, etc. Are you able to connect it? Okay. So for a country, we will say first what is GDP, because these are very basic questions and very basic concepts, and sometimes you get question. It will be just using these basic concepts. So unless, even if you know very hi-fi or a very high-end kind of topics, even if you are able to understand, if you are unclear with these very basic concepts, you will go wrong in the simple questions. Actually, aspirants make a lot of mistakes with these conceptual questions. So that is why I am trying to stick to the concepts and help you understand the concepts. So what is GDP? How will you define GDP? So can somebody give the expanded version of GDP? Gross domestic product. Okay, perfect. GDP means gross domestic product. Then now, can you define what is GDP? GDP is the money value of the final goods and services produced within the economic territory of a country. That is GDP. I will repeat once again. GDP is the money value of, it's a money value. So we will be measuring it or expressing it in the money terms. So it's a money value of what? All final goods and services produced in the economic territory of a country. So this is GDP. GDP is the money value of the final goods and services produced in the economic territory of a country. We'll see each of this. To make it, I will initially try to make it simple and then go into the details. Let's again take the example of apples. So, in India, suppose in one particular year, we with respect to economics, we usually use the term financial year. That is from April 1st of first 1 year to March 31st of the next year. So that is one financial year. So that in one particular year, let's say India produced 10 apples. In India, the only production from in India that year, suppose that is only apples, 10 apples. And each apple, the cost of each apple was 2 rupees each. Each apple costs 2 rupees. Okay. So, can you tell me what is the GDP of this country? GDP is the money value of the final goods and services produced in the economic territory of a country. And we are taking an example, India. And suppose that in India, only 10 apples are produced in one particular year. And cost of each apple or the final price of each apple was rupees 2 for every apple. And then if that is the case, what is the GDP of the country? 20, right? Yeah, perfect. 10 into 2, that is rupees 20. So that is the GDP of the country in this example. It's very simple. That is the GDP. So I have expressed GDP in money value, right? I have expressed in rupees. So GDP is the money value of the final goods and services produced in a country. It not only includes goods, but it also includes services. So that is GDP. Okay. So suppose Ashley is the Prime Minister of India, and her main objective is to bring growth to India, right? That is the objective of every Prime Minister. So we now say that India is the third largest country in terms of GDP. That is what we say, but that is actually measured in a different parameter using that parameter is purchasing power parity. But we say that India is third largest, and we will be growing, or we'll be. The aim is to become the largest economy in the world. So if that is the case, what will you do if Ashley is the Prime Minister and you have to ensure that India becomes the largest economy of the world. So what will you do? Increase the production, right? It's very clear. Increase the production. So as of now, our Prime Minister is Narendra Modi. So if he wants to make India the richest economy, so the main thing he has to do is to improve the production. So how can he improve the production? There should be what? There should be more production. So how can be there more production? Production of goods and services. What should be there? Ideally, there should be more capital, there should be more labor, there should be more land. Land cannot be increased, right? But there can be more capital. But ultimately, what should be there more? There should be more entrepreneurship. There should be more businesses. Correct? There should be more business. So that is why the government is trying to promote business using the concept of ease of doing. So there should only businesses can bring production, right? Each of these should be produced, right? So let's say even the farmer is also doing some kind of business. He is producing something. So if everything is considered as an entrepreneurship, so there should be more entrepreneurs in the country to make India rich. Right? That is the case of it. Why America is rich? Because they have a lot of entrepreneurs. They are producing a lot of things. They have succeeded in production. Are you able to get my point? So the production can be done at two ends. Even the government itself can produce, or it can be left to private individuals, right? So in earlier days, in the concept, when India became independent, it was considered that government also should actively be involved in the production aspects. So government also used to run a lot of businesses. Can you give some examples of the government-run businesses? Railway, in transport, different state transport corporations, right? And BSNL, Air India, right? So the government was also actively involved in many businesses. But that policy shifted after which year? 1991. So when India adopted, when India became independent, India was more tilted to a socialistic form of economy. Even though we say that we adopted mixed economy, where there were equal importance to the public sector as well as private sector, the tilt was towards the socialistic way of economy, where the emphasis was on the production by the government themselves. India was a newborn economy, so the private individuals lacked capital as well. To start an economy, usually they need capital, right? So the government itself took the responsibility of starting many industries. Government started also many other. DRDO was started, ISRO was started. So the government was starting so many industries. Banks were being nationalized. They were also run by the state itself. But this policy changed after 1991 when India shifted from that particular path and adopted liberalization, like LPG reforms, liberalization, privatization, globalization. So now the stand of the government and both governments, the socialistic or the mixed economy kind of policy was the policy of the Congress government at that time. The Congress government itself changed their stand in 1991 when they adopted the LPG reforms. And that is followed by the NDA government now. The NDA government also follows the same policy. In economic terms, there is not much difference between NDA or the Congress or the BJP or the Congress. So both adopt the same policy of liberalization, privatization, and globalization. And that means the present concept is that government has no role in business. Government has no business in business. That is what the Prime Minister says. The government is trying to leave all the business activities to the private individuals or private entrepreneurs. And what the government is trying to do is to stay away from business and just act like a facilitator. Or to some extent, some segments, they will act as a regulator. But the main intention is to facilitate business. The government is trying to help businesses to do more business. That's why the Prime Minister is inviting, say, Elon Musk to start a Tesla factory in India. So we want Apple to come to India. So we are inviting everybody to start businesses in India. Then only production will increase. If production will increase, we will generate more money. If we are producing only 2 apples, we will be getting only 20 rupees, right? Suppose we are producing 3 apples, the GDP will be 30, right? So if GDP increases from 20 to 30, what is the rate of growth? What is the rate of growth? 50%. How will you calculate that? If GDP, you have to understand these two, right? There is in absolute terms as well as in percentage terms or the rate terms. So the GDP initially in 1 year, suppose in 2022, the GDP of India was rupees 20 only. But in 2023, the GDP increased from rupees 20 to rupees 30. So what is the rate of growth? How will you calculate rate of growth? When you learn CSAT, you have to understand this, right? How will you calculate the rate of growth? The rate of growth can be calculated by calculating the difference, right? 30 minus 20 divided by the base. Base is 20, right? So 10 by 20 into 100. So this is 1 by 2. So it's 50%. This is a very high rate of growth. What is the present GDP growth of India? Approximately around 6%. But our aim is to get double-digit growth. Double-digit growth means like 10%, 11%, 12%. But we are growing at now 6%. But still, since now it's kind of a recession phase across the globe, even 6% is also considered good because other countries are growing less than that. So now India is a developing country. India, we are still not a developed country. Being a developing country, the rate kind of 6 is itself is considered kind of good in the present scenario. 6 means like if the GDP of India last year is rupees 100, and if this year the GDP is 106, that means it's 6% growth. Are you able to understand it? So that is GDP in a very simple terms, like in the terms that any layman can understand.